those of us that can relate, if we are caring for children with additional needs, it gets extremely lonely. You know, I've got my beautiful friend Sherry-Ann here with me today. She's a great friend. And as great as Sherry-Ann is, and I tell you, she's a wonderful friend, and I've got lots of support systems, I still feel extremely lonely.
Yes, people, so this is a quick message to parents, carers out there looking after children, young people, especially those looking after children with special needs. And for that reason, you know, this is a great presentation from Francesca, who wants to share these 5 main steps, 5 main tips in order for you not to feel isolated, but also to use the main resources that you have around you. Stay tuned. Remember, go back to the previous video that we shared showing a parent sharing her experience looking after her own child with special needs. People, we'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned, but remember, click on the subscribe button, like, share, and yeah, let's continue to celebrate these amazing queens and kings we have in our community. Boom.
Mackenzie is 8 and she has Down syndrome, and then I have a little boy, Zion, who is 3 years old, almost on his way to being 4. Now, if I have £1, and I'm sure a lot of us moms and parents in here can relate to this, if I have £1 for every time someone said to me when I told them this, or they saw me with my children, and they said, wow, you're such a good mom, you're amazing, you're great, super mom, and all these fancy, nice things that they say, I'd probably be extremely, extremely well off if I had just £1 for every time someone said that to me. But we don't always feel that way. I don't always feel like a super mom. I don't always feel like I'm doing a great job. I don't always feel like I even know what I'm doing altogether, right? It's kind of hit and miss. We never know what kind of day we're gonna have, at least in my household. That's just how things are. And many times people will look at us and they see our strengths because we're doing it, and they think, well, you know, you're doing it, I wouldn't be able to do it. But the truth is, I don't think any of us start out motherhood or thinking about being mothers or parents in general thinking I am equipped for raising a child with additional needs. It just happens, right? Now, what I've had to learn over the years, and like I say, my daughter's 11 now, and we moved to Northampton about 5 years ago. She got her diagnosis when she was 3. And before that, I had no idea what any of this meant. And then 18 months later, I had my second daughter and found out she had Down syndrome. And again, I had no idea what any of it meant. And so I really had to learn. What I did know was I had a lot of stuff within me that I wanted to do. A lot of expectations I had of raising a family, right? Of what I thought my kids were going to do, my kids were going to be. And I had to learn to let go of some of those expectations and live in the moment and be with my children as they are, but also, and this is a very important part of this conversation, looking after myself and what that looks like, which is probably the hardest thing I've had to learn to do. All right, so I'm going to share with you guys 5 key things I've had to learn to do in order to thrive, or what people think is thriving, I guess, while parenting my SEN children, all right? But first thing I want to ask you, so I like interactive sessions, so I'm going to need some feedback because it helps give me a bit of energy, right? So how many of us have been on a flight before? If you've been on a flight before, lift your hands, put your hands up. Have you been on a flight before? Fantastic, good stuff. Okay, right. This is an analogy I'm sure many of us have heard, all right? So we don't always pay attention to this part. I certainly don't always pay attention to this part. I probably should. But when the flight attendant instructs us on safety measures on the plane, and one of the things they say is, make sure you put your mask on first before you help someone else. Now, I know we kind of know why, right? You know, we kind of know why. But essentially, I'll read it out for you so that in case any of us are clueless as to why we need to do this, if you run out of oxygen yourself, you can't help anyone else. Okay? If you run out of oxygen yourself, you can't help anyone else. Now, this analogy sometimes can seem a little bit far-fetched because we're thinking, well, how many of us are actually gonna end up in a plane and lose oxygen and all that stuff? I mean, it happens, unfortunately. But I thought I'll show you guys a little analogy here. And My daughter's probably going mad. She likes stimming with these cups. Stimming, by the way, is just little tics and stuff that our kids do to calm themselves. My daughter Mackenzie, she does this with these cups. And every time I buy new cups, she wants to use those cups. And I say, no, you have your own cups to do that with. Anyway, so, what do we call this? This is your energy, right? This jug of water is just energy. It's just your ability to do things, all that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to pour one, and I'm going to assume here, I know that's not all households, but I'm going to assume a two-parent household. This is essentially my household. I've got my 3 little ones and myself and my husband here. And what happens throughout the day when we are caring for our children, when we're doing our jobs, when we're being wives, we're being husbands, we're being friends, we're being sisters, we're just doing life, right? We run out of energy. I hope everyone can see the table here. And as we do things, we pour into people. And we're pouring into people. And sometimes, on some occasion, and this might be your experience, one parent pours in a lot more than the other. Okay. Yeah. So that can be. Now, sometimes what happens when we do things, when we think about how we move throughout the day, right? The way we move throughout the day, we burn energy. What do we do to restore that energy? We eat, we drink, right? And our energy gets restored. A lot of the times, as parents with additional needs, the energy that we forget to restore is other energy, our emotional energy, right? Our mental, our spiritual, psychological, all those things. Now, using the analogy we talked about with the plane, what if you were not to take the time to replenish yourself? What happens? And I'm just gonna put that aside for now. This is no slap on dads, I promise. I promise. Okay, what happens when throughout the day, throughout the week, we replenish? And we replenish and we replenish and we give and we give and we give. Eventually, we run dry. Now, what about our kids though? Our kids are human, they spend energy as well. So they get their tantrums or meltdowns, or they're just playing, they're being happy, they're running around, they're on their tablets. All of that is wasting energy, right? Now they're low on energy. But I haven't replenished myself. I haven't taken care of myself. I can't give them anything. I can't pour into them. The very first thing I had to learn to do when thinking about caring for my family properly, and by the way, this is, like I said, it's no slap on dads. My husband is very active with my children. As I said, he's at home with them. And very similarly, I might decide I need a break. Now, I say this to my husband all the time. I say, listen, we need to take breaks sometimes. And even if he's got a little bit left and I've got none, the point is, you can't function on this much energy anyway, right? So I've said to him before, you know, let's take time. I could probably do it every 3 months. You might have to do it every month, where you take some specific time to yourself. It really depends on your ability, your level, and how much you need to refresh, basically. The point is, when I get to this stage, and my kids are at this stage, very little energy, then what happens? Here, I shout, I get upset, I shut myself away, I want to go for a walk, I'm angry, I'm annoyed. There's a lot of very negative things that comes from an empty cup. The most negative thing is I can't pour into my children. That's a no-go for me, okay? So the very first thing I've had to learn to do is looking after yourself. You are your biggest asset. You are your biggest asset. You are your family's biggest asset. Whoever you are here, okay? There's lots of ways that I look after myself. I don't travel a lot. In my head, I travel a lot, but I don't travel as much as I would like to. So there's lots of ways that you can do it. That involves money, traveling, and going to the spa and all these things. But there are little things that I do to help. I might organize a catch-up with Sherry Ann, for example. I might go for a walk. The other day I went for a walk, 1 hour, 50 minutes, and I didn't even realize I walked that long. I just needed to walk. Reading a book. If you can, you have the means to, go to the spa, have a massage, catch up with a friend, go to the pub, whatever it is, anything that you need to do to look after yourself. It is not good enough for us to say, don't have the time. This is what I said. I don't have the time, I don't have this, I don't have that, because the alternative is not what we want. Okay? The very first thing, you need to look after yourself. Alright? Even take a drive. I like drives, whatever it is we can do. Now, the rest of the things that I'm going to mention, they're in no particular order, but I wanted to put that one number one, because nothing else that we do is going to be possible unless we look after ourselves. Alright, the second thing that really helped me to thrive while caring is giving myself purpose. As I said before, being a carer can be a very lonely road. What really helps me is understanding that there's something bigger than me that I want to do. So one of the things I do that I didn't say in my introduction is I run my own digital marketing agency, okay? So I work for myself, and up until recently I worked at a company and I do marketing, and that's a lot. Before, maybe I would say a year to 18 months ago, I was ridiculously disorganized with my time. I was so annoyed with my children. I didn't understand the importance of realizing that the reason that I was doing what I was doing, the reason I went into business for myself, was to give myself more time for my family. I had to re-give myself that purpose of saying, okay, Francesco, why are you doing this anyway? Well, I'm doing it for them. And if I'm doing it for them at the expense of them, I'm not really doing it for them. I'm doing it for myself. So I had to give myself a real higher sense of purpose as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. Why is it important for me to look after myself, outside of myself? It's for my children, it's for my family. Now, I've spoken about my friend here, and some of us have come here with friends or with family. The third thing that I want to say is we need to make time for friendships and community. I mentioned earlier that caring is particularly lonely. It really is. But one of the things I realized is we can be our own worst enemy, and sometimes the reason it's lonely is because we don't reach out. It's not always the reason, but a lot of the times that we're lonely is because we don't have community, we don't reach out, we don't express. Okay? I can be a bit of an open book at times. And so I could meet you for the first time and I will probably tell you a whole bunch of stuff about my life and what I've struggled, because I'm an open book and that's just me. But with that being said, I often found myself just shutting off. School pickup, I don't want to talk to anyone, just get my kids and go. Because in the back of my mind I'm thinking, oh, Kira's gonna start screaming in a minute and Mackenzie's gonna start crying about something, I don't know what's gonna happen. And so I automatically just keep myself away. Even with other parents that have children with additional needs, you automatically just separate yourself. But community is so important. We were never meant to live this life alone. We were never meant to do life alone. We've always been created and designed to do life in community. Anna put on this excellent event, and she said it herself. She wasn't able to do it by herself. She needed her village, she needed her community, because that's what life is about, community. Okay, let's go on to the next part. The next point is organize as much as possible. This was the hardest lesson for me to learn, because I just let my house go rampant for quite a while. Like, everyone just did whatever they wanted to do. I couldn't deal with it, it's fine. I worked all hours, I would work at the weirdest times because I was working for myself. Everything was so disorganized. It was about in 2020, during lockdown, where I had no choice but to have the kids at home. I had had to learn, okay, no, this isn't working, and we need to organize things a little bit, right? So I started organizing when I worked, when I didn't work. I was working with someone before and I had to stop that job because I said, what you need to do and where you need to take your company, I can't do it because I need to have time with my children. So I'm very strict on my time. My time is, I work from about 9:30 to 2:30. And if I feel like working at night, I do. But once my children are around, I try my hardest not to work. I try and organize my time so that they also get some of me, but I get time to myself and this all. Now, let me just say by the way, before I go to my next point. Anything that I'm saying today, you need to be able to organize it to suit your home and what your household looks like. You might be someone that works 9 to 5, so it might be very difficult to do certain things, but you need to think about it. If you're working 9 to 5, use annual leave and take a day for yourself. You just have to make a way for you to be replenished and for you to be satisfied with where you are so that you're able to continue caring. The last point, number 5, is something I thought, because we are the parents that we are because of our little ones, and how do I thrive while I'm caring? And I was thinking, what could my 5th point be? I was going to leave it at 4, and I thought, what could my 5th point be? Because I really wanted to do 5 points for some reason. But my 5th point, I decided, was not to underestimate my children. You know, sometimes the reason why we're not necessarily thriving is because we look at our children where they are now and we think that's it. And we think, life's not going to get any better than this. This is it. I'm going to have to care for them the rest of my life. And this is it. My life is over. And it really doesn't have to be like that. Because we underestimate our children. How many of you, here, if you raise your hand, have had your child, whether your child is autistic, has ADHD or some other disability, and they've done or said something that you thought, oh my gosh, I didn't know you had that in you. Can you put your hand up? Yeah? My daughter Kira plays tennis. It's the most shocking thing of my life. How good she is. Her coach, it's a one-on-one session, her coach and I have been talking about the possibility of getting her into competitions. Do you guys understand how crazy this is for me? This is a child that has tantrums all the time, the meltdowns, I probably shouldn't say tantrums, meltdowns all the time. She's very, she's in herself a lot, and she gets in her head a lot, and it seems like she can't function, but she gets on that tennis court and she plays tennis, and it blows my mind. And I'm at the point now where I'm having these actual conversations about Kira potentially playing tennis, potentially professionally. Like, what? It's crazy, it's absolutely crazy. So one of the things I had to learn to do is not underestimate my children. Mackenzie does gymnastics, you know? There's not a lot of support necessarily out there, which is, you know, we have to take that into consideration. But what I will say is, you make a way for your children. We take our children to everything. Someone says they're doing athletics, well, we're going to try it out. Do you cater for children with additional needs? Yes, we do. You get there? No, they don't. But we've tried it, right? We've shown up and we've said, at least we've let them know you need to do better. You need to cater for children with additional needs. And then we go and we leave them to deal with the guilt of that. You know, we've tried lots of things. We've tried lots of things. And not everything stuck, not everything worked, but I never stop my children from trying something just because they have the need that they have, because they will surprise you. That was going to be the end of my talk, and I'm pretty much done. But today, as I was getting ready, I'll tell you guys a funny story. My mother-in-law is staying with us at the moment, and it's such a blessing. That's not the funny story. It's such a blessing, but she does things. I don't know how you guys are, if you're very specific about people coming to your house and doing stuff the way that you do it. As I was getting ready, I thought this is a bonus tip that I must give you guys. So I was cleaning the house this morning, as you do on a Saturday morning, and the sun came out, so I thought let me quickly do some washing. And the last load, she said, "Oh, I'm gonna put it out for you. I'm gonna hang it out." And I thought, oh my God, it's okay, Sean, no problem. And then I'm looking out the window, watching her put it up, and I said, "That's not the way I would do it. You should just let me do it." Now, this is me thinking, I've got to come to this event, I'm cleaning, I've got to prepare breakfast, I'm doing all this stuff. My husband took my daughter to gymnastics this morning, as he does. And I've got all this stuff to do, and I was concerned about my mother-in-law hanging up the clothes wrong on the line. And so my bonus tip to you guys, to us, to me, accept help. Accept the help. If you want to thrive in your caring, you need to allow people to help you. And if it's something that they're doing that you might not like, the way they're doing it, does it really matter how the clothes were on the line? They're gonna get dried anyways, right? So certain things we need to let go, and certain things we need to just take off our plates that don't necessarily need to be on our plates, and just accept the help. So that was my bonus tip to myself. And if any of you could use it, great. But that's me for today. I really hope you guys were able to learn something and to take something from this. I just want to say thank you guys so much for what you do for your children. And the reason I want to say thank you is because I look at my daughters, I look at other children, I look at programs and all the rest of it, and all the people that are able to do great things. And it starts with parents that love them, that believe in them, and that care for them unconditionally. And I'm getting really emotional about it now. But thank you guys so much. And Amma, thank you so much for allowing me to speak here today. Have a blessed afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Francesca, thank you very much. Thank you very much. For all of you being dedicated to your children, 24/7, it does have a toll on you. We need a space. We need to find a way to recharge. And in order for us to be able to do that, we need to be able to look at the support networks. I am really honored that Sharia actually did follow her to come to a space like this. And I think I want to be able to ask Sharia, please come and join us and tell us your motivation as to the reason why you've been able to continue to support or be a helper for the likes of Francesca. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. That's completely easy to talk about. Francesca Fran to me is an amazing person, and I see her life. I see the friendship we have. But the most beautiful thing I realize about our friendship is that we're always trying to meet up. So we're always trying to put it in the diary. We're always setting a date to say, okay, Friday at 1, and this is gonna happen. At least 90% of the time, it doesn't happen at all. That's just the truth. But what we realized works really well is those impromptu meetings. So she literally just messaged me yesterday, I think it was, and said, Sherry, can you come and just capture me and support me here? And I was like, yep. Even though my son's at coding class, I have to get back there from 2:15. And you just make it work for those that are around you. When they call you and they need you, you just make it work. And especially as us as a support system, we're around the family, I'm around her beautiful children, and sometimes I don't understand how to respond when they're reaching out to me and saying things to me and touching my face. But what I've learned to do is just to respond naturally, as I would, and speak to them as I would my own children and show them that love. So I would always be here for you, Fran, and I encourage each and every one of you, don't be afraid to reach out. Sometimes in your mind it will tell you, or they might say no, it might inconvenience them, but they might just surprise you, your support network. So don't be afraid to reach out, okay?
So finally, we have come to the end of this amazing event. And for me, I would say it was a big opportunity for me to meet families, supporting these amazing children. And, from my point of view, it was an opportunity for me to be able to learn and also have, the opportunity to be able to share their stories with you, with the wider public as well. So if that has been something that you have learned from, let us know in the comment section. What have you learned? You know, meeting and hearing these amazing experiences. And if you have taken something from this particular session, do drop us a comment or two. If you've got any kind of props that you want to share, or maybe you want us to come and meet you in order for us to be able to share your experience, people, reach out to us. We are more than happy. We want to tell our stories. We want to talk about our lived experiences, and that's basically what we want to do. So reach out to us on Black Next Gen on all social media platforms, and we will definitely do our very best. Until we come again to you, click on the subscribe button. Boom, and we'll see you in the next video.
I want them to feel at the end, I want them to feel encouraged and motivated to show up for themselves, I would say. I just want them to be like feeling good, feeling positive. Like sometimes caring for children with additional needs can feel very lonely, and it can kind of feel like there's no end to a very dark tunnel. I kind of just want them to see a light. Like it's possible to be who you are and push for what you want while being a carer. That's absolutely possible. That's what I want them to feel at the end, I would say.
This moment is all that I've been dreaming of.
Well, focus.
Some way I feel it in my soul.